Like Purdue, it's just an example. Purdue losing to Fresno State is okay. We still win the Big Ten West. But me,
Billy Napier gets fired. I'm just kidding.
really the best time of the year. I will be seated watching the Red Zone for 7 hours on Sunday. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to a new episode of Backyard Banter. James, Tanner, Johnny, what a weekend of NFL football. And if it's okay with you guys, we're gonna start with my beloved Buccaneers not just beating, a beatdown of the Philadelphia Eagles. Very surprising to me. It was kind of a toss-up game. The line was only at 3. I just really thought the Eagles would come in and kind of turn it on, but a lot of injuries in their secondary. And if Tampa didn't have 4 or 5 drops, that score looks a lot different. I don't know what Mike Evans was doing. He dropped 2 deep balls, one of them for a touchdown, very uncharacteristic. But Baker was dealing all game. He looked really comfortable. The defense, man, blitzed on 40% of dropbacks to Jalen Hurts. They were just all over him all game. 3 sacks, 5 TFLs, just all over him. Tanner, what were your kind of impressions from that game?
Yeah, I actually picked the Bucs to win this game. I just thought the Eagles, they've had too many problems recently that are concerning, like Hurts getting a lot of pressure. And then you got Nick Sirianni and the offense maybe not being as creative. So that and coupled with Baker Mayfield, I thought Baker Mayfield has always been a gamer, and he came out and he played really, really well. The Bucs still have a lot of weapons on offense. I thought Rashad White looked very good last night. And the Bucs have a good enough defense. I think this is a Bucs team that, coming in this season, you kind of expected to either win the division or just be terrible and get out of that NFL purgatory. Well, you have a playoff win now, which is exciting. You have another game this weekend, so good for the Bucs. Happy for the Bucs. Eagles will have a lot of questions in the offseason that we could probably talk about later, but for now, I want to credit the Bucs on their win.
Yeah, it was an incredible game. I was not super happy to watch this game. I kind of thought it was the most boring idea of this game just because it's the Bucs. Not sure what we were going to get, and the Eagles, who have been pretty booty as of late. But yeah, shout out to Tampa, man. Baker went out there and he just did his thing. He's been playing some confident football. You can just tell he's confident out there. They kind of incorporated everyone, right? Like you said, Mike Evans didn't really go out there and do what we thought he might have. I know Tanner and I kind of thought he could have had a breakout game, but they didn't need him, right? They didn't need him to do that. That defense looked unreal, but again, it goes back to what Tanner just said. Philly's got a lot of questions because I don't know what they're going to do with how much talent they had on the roster on paper. That team should have won a playoff game for sure on paper, but we'll see. But yeah, shout out to the Bucs, shout out to Tanner for picking it. I told Johnny yesterday I thought there was no chance they could beat the Eagles, but again, the switch that I thought the Eagles were going to be able to turn on, they did not turn on. They did not turn on.
But if you would have told me before the game, you're speaking to everyone kind of stepped up. If you had told me before the game that Mike Evans only had 3 catches and Devontae Smith would have gone over 140 and that Cade Otton was our leading receiver, I would have been like, that's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
You got dudes like David Moore, who had 89 yards the entire year, who had a big, long touchdown run. Yeah, Philadelphia was horrid at tackling. Such about their secondary. James Bradbury didn't want any part of any receiver. But it was just really good to see. Like Tanner said, I thought that the Bucs were in kind of this purgatory. I thought they were going to win 6-7 games, be the 14th pick, and kind of just keep that cycle that really not successful teams have. Instead, they had a home playoff game, and Ray J was freaking rocking last night. Shout out to the city of Tampa, man. They get a bad rap, Tampa Bay, for like the Rays and the attendance was there, but they showed up for the playoff game and it was loud.
You got to move the Rays to Tampa.
Before they said the new stadium, I always said the Rays should have gone to Tampa, but who knows? Hopefully the new stadium does something there. But I'm just so proud of this team. Very proud watching. It was almost just shocking the way just that defense was flying around. Jalen Hurts was not comfortable all night. They were on him from the get-go, and it was just really good to see. And one last stat. The Eagles only rushed for 42 yards.
Unreal.
They rushed for over 200 when the first time they played in week 3.
How many carries? 12 carries?
Yeah, they kind of got away from it early, but even when they tried to get back to it in the second half, you got Vita Vea in that middle.
Sure. And when you're down, you got to start throwing the ball, but Jalen Hurts didn't get his first rushing attempt until maybe...
Well, he had one that got like half a yard, but one where
he
tucked and ran. Yeah, it was rough, but... shout out to the Bucs. Shout out Todd Bowles. I never would have thought I'd be saying that Todd Bowles outcoached someone in a playoff game.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
So we got Bucs Lions next weekend.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Lions, we'll go straight into the Lions Rams game. Probably the most entertaining game of the weekend. Detroit, talking about Tampa was rocking. Detroit was freaking rocking.
Yeah.
You look just at the raw box score. You see Stafford went for 367, 2 touchdowns. James and I were talking about how just disgusting Puka Nacua is. He's just unreal. But I mean, yeah, Tanner, what are just your immediate takeaways from the Detroit game?
Yeah, it was a great game. It was the game that I was looking forward to the most, and it didn't disappoint. I thought that the Rams' defensive line did not play the game they needed to play. They didn't get to Goff at all. Goff had all day to throw. Amon-Ra was making big catches. I feel like Amon-Ra is an elite NFL wide receiver, and it's been known. But I still feel like he's underrated.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I think he's a lot better than people are giving him credit for. So I just wanted to put that out there. David Montgomery had a good game. But yeah, Puka Nacua was something else. That was impressive to watch.
Whenever they need to play him.
Unreal.
Yeah. But good for the Lions. I think this Lions-Bucks game is going to be really interesting for me. I'm sure we'll talk about it more later this week. But if the Bucks can generate pressure like that to Jared Goff, they're going to have a real shot to win that game there in Detroit.
Yeah, the Lions just look steady. Jared Goff didn't make many mistakes, if any, really. I mean, and then the rushing game was kind of just consistent, right? David Montgomery never, busted it out for 50 yards or anything, but it was steady, right? Steady punching in the end zone. Gibbs was good as an alternative. That Lions offense has got something going, and the fact that Sam Laporta was out there playing was also incredible.
Caught a touchdown too.
And so shout out to Dan Campbell, because he is, when they interview him, if I could hang out with any NFL coach, it's going to be him, because
100%. He
he just looks like the most genuine person. Obviously, great football mind. He makes you want to root for him. But we talk about Puka Nacua. He's doing what Cooper Kupp has been doing for the last couple of years in terms of running around the field, and you're like, okay, there it is again.
Yeah.
There's Cooper Kupp again. There's Cooper Kupp again. Now it's Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp's kind of like a where's Cooper Kupp,
Yeah.
right? So the issue was, in my opinion, the thing for the Rams is when they needed that big throw, Stafford was looking for Kupp, right? And Puka Nacua has kind of emerged as maybe that guy for the Rams, and I wish they would have, maybe incorporated him on those more important throws and balls and everything like that. But an incredible football game. Shout out to the Lions, man. And shout out to the division, right? We're gonna get into the next game, but the division it showed out. So the Lions, they're gonna get another home playoff game, which is incredible. But that place looked like it was rocking. So
yeah, I mean, all we've heard since the playoffs started is like, wow, man, the AFC North, not a team with a losing record. Well, guess what? Besides Baltimore, out of the playoffs. God, the NFC East is dominant. They got two teams that can win the Super Bowl. They got two teams that can lose in the wild card.
yeah, right.
I mean, Dallas will transition kind of that game. One more note, Dan Campbell, his aggressiveness to go for it on fourth down is
From anywhere.
yeah, from anywhere. Really, I mean, it basically won them the game. And shout out to the Rams. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year for them, and still 10-7.
Yeah.
Good year for them. Shout out Sean McVay.
Thank you.
Transition into that Packers Cowboys game. I mean, from the jump, the Cowboys just looked tense. They didn't look ready. They tried to run it too much, I thought. And Tony Pollard, he's just fine, but he's nothing special. I mean, he only had 56 yards on 15 carries.
Yeah.
That's not that good of an average if you're good at math. But Jordan Love looks like a reincarnation of Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre into one. And my God, they're so young and they're so talented. I mean, that receiving core, all they've talked about is, we don't have a first-round pick. No first-round receiver since whatever. And not in Aaron Rodgers' time, and they still haven't drafted one for Jordan Love. Guess what? Romeo Doubs, doesn't matter. 150, a touchdown. And Jordan Reed, who's their top guy, didn't even have a reception until late in the game.
Yeah.
And just shout out to the Packers, man.
Christian Watson still banged up.
It's just unreal. Matt LaFleur, I think there was a significant coaching advantage in every game except for maybe the Lions-Rams game, where it's like, wow, like you can tell, like it was just a little. Mike McCarthy was just in a little over his head, and we'll see. But as we're recording this, the future of Mike McCarthy has not been known. Maybe even by the time it comes out, we'll have a decision on that. But I mean, Dak wasn't good. Yeah. He was up and down. McCarthy wasn't good. I mean, where does this go for Dallas?
I think, in my opinion, the whole idea of Mike McCarthy losing his job, I think, is lunatic. I think they didn't lose that game because of him. Dak Prescott, who had been playing like an MVP-style quarterback for some part of the season, looked inept, right? He was making throws. Honestly, some of his throws that he completed were like, all right, that was pretty lucky, right? It's impressive to watch a quarterback throw a seam, in between a route or something like that, and it just magically finds the receiver's hands. But either Green Bay's defense is somehow amazing in the secondary, which it's not. Then Dak just wasn't dialed, and you could tell that in the beginning. The CeeDee Lamb Dak Prescott matchup relationship did not gel right in the first quarter. I mean, and we go back to Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, I thought, had one of the most disappointing years in terms of, I thought this guy was going to be the next Zeke in terms of numbers that to put up in Dallas, and he just wasn't that back this year for Dallas. So the idea of firing Mike McCarthy, I think, is crazy, because I think you need to take a step back and you need to look at Dak. Like, Dak did not look comfortable, didn't look confident, and maybe that's shout out to the Packers and everything. But you know what, Jordan Love, dude, we're screwed. I mean, he is good. He is good. He is good. He's good. And it's disappointing as a Bears fan to watch a guy who go out there just with so much confidence and kind of just tear it up in the playoffs.
Well, Dak wasn't good, but I look at the Cowboys' defense in this. Yeah. I watched the first half and then I listened to the second half on the radio driving, but the guys on ESPN radio were saying, like, the Cowboys were running man-to-man defense, and on about every play, they would just not cover someone. Yeah. Like, they would just leave someone wide.
Gilmore was getting cooked.
He had Packers money line. Gilmore had Packers money line.
Who had 9 picks in the regular season was getting cooked.
He gave 135 yards. Like, the Cowboys' defense did not show up at all. They gave up 48 points to the Green Bay Packers. And I know the Packers' offense has been playing well, but, like, 48 points is a lot.
The thing is, I don't even know if they were in man the entire game, because when I was watching it, it looks like they were in like a matchup zone. And when you play the Packers, we've been watching it for years. It's a Packers quarterback just tears apart a zone, right? Tears apart a zone, and that's in my opinion what they did. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it just looked like they were in a zone. And if they were in man, then dear God, it was awful. But I mean, yeah, it's just the secondary looked bad, and when they lost Diggs halfway through the season or earlier in the first half, I thought they were screwed. But then they kind of came back and they were like, okay, this is a legitimate defense. And then they just completely lost it. Micah Parsons didn't get a hold for 3 months, and I think he got 3 of them. But he was kind of taken out of the game, right? It was just, Dallas looked awful. Awful.
You know, Dak's going into contract year next year. Last year, that big deal they signed a few years ago. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, a quarterback having to throw 60 times like Dak did is no recipe for success ever, but both of his interceptions were really bad. Awful. The pick six for me when we were watching, I mean, Mayo and I were watching it together, and the pick six happened, and we're like, wow, like you just kind of, even for us, it was just deflating.
Well, imagine they score there.
I know, I think it was 14-0 at that time.
No, it was 21-7. It was 21-0.
And they're going down like, okay, like here we go. And they get past the 50, and we're like, okay, and pick six, and we're like, oh, like, you know, that's kind of the game. And trust me, this Packers defense is not a bunch of world beaters. No. They've been calling for the defense coordinator to get fired for a few months. Baker Mayfield had a perfect passer rating against them. They're not a bunch of world beaters by any means, but I mean, they did more than enough to advance, and they got the 49ers next, and we'll see. The divisional rounds are looking great.
Yeah.
Before we get in the AFC side, one more note that Mayo just brought up to us: the play to Luke Musgrove, probably the worst of the busted coverage. It was the most wide open any receiver was in the entire season. So that just kind of shows how pathetic that Cowboys secondary was.
I think we could have maybe caught the football.
Yeah. Well, they were in a man, and they tried to pass off the man. It was a crossing and tried to pass off the man, and 2 guys went with the same guy. And
either way,
no one ended up. I mean, we'll put the picture as a picture of him, like just with no one around him. We'll put the picture up. Just how wide
he looked scared, by the way.
Yeah,
when that ball was coming, he's like, dude, if I drop this. Like, you could tell if I drop this football. Because he caught it like this. Like, it was not ideal.
Anyway, we'll move into Chiefs-Dolphins in the frozen tundra that was not Green Bay, but Kansas City. Mm-hmm. I mean, this one really wasn't competitive. No. The way I talked about in the preview, the way that L'Jarius Sneed really limited Tyreek Hill for most of the game, it was really impressive. And obviously the Dolphins being out, I think they're out 6 defensive starters, which is really hard. They're missing the 2 edge rushers to go into Kansas City in the frigid temperatures and win. But it's time to have a real conversation about Tua. He has not won a game in under 45 degrees in his entire career. They're a bunch of front runners. He's great in the first 8 weeks, and then all of a sudden, it's cold. You got to make a big play. Can't do it. You can't do it. I mean, the thing about with Tom Brady, obviously comparing Tua to Tom Brady is kind of asinine, but Tom Brady's when he won Super Bowls, Julian Edelman was great. He got Danny Amendola. He got just a bunch of really just no names that would go on to other places. Danny Amendola went to Detroit and didn't do anything.
Right.
And so it just kind of shows when you're elite, you can elevate others. You think the Rice kid from Kansas City is that good without Mahomes in his first year?
I don't know. Tanner and I are very
He's
impressed
really
with
good,
him.
but I mean, if Tua's his quarterback,
Right.
who knows? But speaking of him, he had a touchdown in the game. Mahomes really just looked comfortable the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this game was never really in doubt.
No.
It was the Chiefs were in control most of the time. They were to run it a little bit effectively. Their defense is they're the best it's been. Kind of this run with Mahomes,
Oh, yeah.
and they're winning because of their defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Rashee Rice is an elite NFL wide receiver. I've been saying this for, I think I said it last week's episode. I think he's been playing really well the last 2 months, and I think he's solidified himself to be in that conversation on that elite tier. Kelsey had a couple bad drops, but still put up some good numbers. I think Pacheco ran well, as you know, per usual. And the Chiefs' defense getting to the quarterback. George Karlaftis had 2 sacks. If the Chiefs' defensive line can generate pressure, then I mean it's going to be tough to beat them because you know their offense is at least going to be able to move the ball and get points. If their defense is stopping the run, getting sacks, generating pressure, that's just going to lead to takeaways, stops, and that's dangerous for the opposing team playing the Chiefs. However, big game coming up that I'm excited for.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, speaking of who they're going to play, they play the Bills upcoming. The Bills-Steelers game, they got close for a second, but kind of that George Pickens fumble after the Bills went up. I was pretty sure it was 14-0. The Steelers finally got a good completion, and George Pickens fumble. And after that, it was kind of too little, too late. Najee Harris wasn't effective. They couldn't really run the ball, and then Mason Rudolph is only going to do so much for you. But Josh Allen, 4 total touchdowns. That one run that he had, he kind of took advantage of. For certain quarterbacks, that hit that he had in the slide isn't a penalty, but for certain quarterbacks it is. Yeah. And then I think, it's Kenny Pickett in the AFC Championship game a few years ago. He did a little fake slide thing on the touchdown. Like he slowed up, I thought he was going to slide, and then he sped up. So, it's very hard to rule or implement. He could have just been waiting for his blocks. But, yeah, he was unreal. He's the only quarterback in NFL history that averages 250 yards throwing and over 50 yards rushing. So, I mean, we've been waiting for this for a while. Another Chiefs Bills, this time in Buffalo.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes' first ever road playoff game in Buffalo. I mean, CBS, it's everything that you want.
The story has been set, and I'm so excited. I think we're all so excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, I got some concerns with the Bills' defense a little bit.
A lot of injuries in their linebacking core.
A lot of injuries, and the Steelers, who haven't been typically a good offense, were able to move the ball, I thought, pretty well. For the Steelers, man, they got to get a quarterback because they do have a good receiver core. I mean, they got targets to throw to.
They got to go get someone. Kenny Pickett's not the answer. Mr. Trubisky's definitely not the answer. And Mason Rudolph is definitely not the answer.
They have 3 definitely not the answers.
I mean, their O-line's not bad.
No,
they got good
yeah.
targets to throw to. Like, I mean...
And Najee and Warren aren't,
it's a good duo.
terrible.
Yeah. I mean, feels bad for the Steelers. They got to find a way to get
Still
a
got
quarterback.
Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah.
He was good. But the last game was the Texans-Browns game, the first game. And I kind of said it in the preview that you don't bet against special, and CJ Stroud is special.
Yep.
And Joe Flacco's had a turnover problem really since he's been with the Browns, and he's been kind of put under the rug because he's had some incredible throws and some incredible moments, but he had 2 pick sixes, and that completely changed the game. CJ Stroud had a really long touchdown to Brevin Jordan, their tight end, who was really good. I mean, just kind of an efficient win. I mean, again, it was close for a little bit. We had our game during it. We were keeping up with it on the app, but from what we saw, it was just really turned it on to an extent.
Yeah. Well, CJ Stroud's special, right? And that's what we all said. I told Johnny, I said yesterday, I just picked a story. I thought Joe Flacco's story was going to be enough for them to just maybe get one playoff game. But man, I was wrong, right? Obviously, it ended up being a blowout, but CJ Stroud's going to be special in this league for a very long time. And if you continue to surround him with weapons, I mean, let's not act like he's got a wide receiver core that's just a bunch of world beaters. Like, Nico Collins has kind of emerged as a very good wide receiver. They obviously lost Tank Dell, who, was also being very good for the Texans and everything. But I think this goes to just a head coaching thing. Like, they've got something working in Houston. Obviously, we didn't know what was going to happen with them having 2 first-round picks last year. But man, they've emerged, and you know what? They can win another playoff game.
Yeah.
Like, and they can with the power of this offense, and this defense is starting to play very well, obviously as well. But they could win another game this week, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won this weekend. So that's just my take on the Texans. Obviously, I picked the Browns. I picked it for the Joe Flacco story, but Joe Flacco, maybe it's time to just hang it up and let the youngins go out there and play quarterback. But
yeah, I was impressed with the Texans against C.J. Stroud. Great player, defense getting 2 touchdowns for you always helps. Houston kind of had an electric atmosphere too. For Houston, kind of, fast forwarding, looking ahead, back to week 1. They played in Baltimore in week 1. I believe they were like 12-point underdogs, and they almost went in there and won, and everybody was shocked.
yeah.
They were never even given a chance. And I think it's kind of going to be the same thing. I think there's not going to be a lot of people that are necessarily giving them a chance to win this game. Maybe they think they'll be competitive, but I think Houston has a legit chance to win this.
Yeah.
And I'm high on the Ravens.
Yeah.
I think this, for me personally, this is the game of the weekend.
I think this is just as close to, for me, as
Bills Chiefs.
like the only reason Bills Chiefs is so exciting
Not for me.
is because of the fact that it's we've been here, we've done that, we've seen how amazing these games can be. But this game, there's a lot of question marks because the Ravens have question marks on their side of the ball and everything like that. And obviously, we don't know what the Texans are going to be able to do against the 1 seed and everything like that. I totally agree with what Tanner said. I think the fact that we have 2 incredible AFC matchups
and 2 contrasting styles.
Yeah.
One wants to run the ball and play defense. The other one wants to throw it around the yard.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be such a fun
I think
game.
it's a great take, Tanner. And maybe we're both wrong, and maybe it's going to be a blowout. But I don't know. I love the take. I think the AFC is set up to be a great weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited for it.
So that's kind of wrapping up. Before we wrap up football, the quarterbacks in the AFC is Jackson versus Stroud, and then obviously Mahomes versus Allen. And you go to the NFC, and it's Purdy versus Jordan Love, and Baker Mayfield versus Jared Goff. Like one of those guys who you're playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy, just the different styles
Baker.
there. But hey, the Bucks look good. But yeah, again, just a great weekend, and the divisional round is just going to be even better.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 top-tier matchups. There's not
Heck
one matchup where it's like, wow, that's not going to be kind of fun or entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, the Packers open up at 9.5-point dogs to San Francisco.
But you feel like
they're going in there with nothing to lose, man.
Yeah.
They can throw it around the yard. Transition on to a little bit of college basketball. Last week, 4 of the top 5 teams in the country lost. Houston, who was looking really good, really strong, kind of welcome to the Big 12, lost back-to-back, one of them at Iowa State, which Iowa State isn't a world-beating team by any means. Purdue lost to a good Nebraska team, but the Nebraska win and got blown out by Iowa. Kansas lost to UCF, and I know a lot of people that go to UCF. Trust me, they're not a basketball school. It's just chaos. It is what March Madness is, and then out of nowhere, again, number 1 in the polls, UConn, defending national champs, without their big man, without I don't even know, let's say his last name, Klingen and whatever.
Sure.
And I mean, what their coach Hurley is doing is they run their stuff so crisp, man.
Unreal.
They are so fun to watch. But I mean, Purdue's got a big one later today against Indiana. My beloved Florida Gators go on the road to play Tennessee. Kentucky, James was saying, Kentucky looks good. They could be dangerous. Their freshmen are getting more comfortable game by game. But I mean, just what are your guys' kind of takeaways so far? Kind of a quarter of the way, maybe a little bit more of the quarter way through the season.
I think this is gonna. I
guess a halfway point.
Halfway point. In terms of looking ahead, I'm so excited for this March Madness because I think that there are a ton of teams like Kentucky, who Kentucky, right? They lost to A&M. A&M's a very good team, in my opinion, especially at home.
Yeah.
You're going to have some teams this year, and you always do, right? I'm not going to act like this is a strange year. You're going to have some 3, 4, 5 seeds in this March Madness who can absolutely go out there and beat anybody. I know,
just like last March Madness.
That's not a crazy statement.
It's similar to last March Madness. I feel like we went a lot of time with a lot of, it was 1 and 2 seeds and 3 seeds in Final Four. But last year, UConn was a 4 and won it.
And again, it's not a crazy statement to say a 3, 4, 5 can beat somebody because I'm aware of that. But this Kentucky team can beat anybody. UNC is kind of emerging as one of the best teams in the country.
Duke's won 8 in a row.
We knew Duke was going to find their stride. There are a ton of teams this year, but it's crazy. Is the inconsistency is making it look interesting because I think maybe I'm wrong. 14 of the 12 or 13 of the top 25 teams lost to unranked teams this past week. That is an unreal stat.
It shows how deep college basketball is.
100%.
With the extra year and the COVID year, you got 5th, 6th, 7th year players playing on these mid to lower major teams and even lower tier SEC teams. Like all of a sudden Georgia it's competitive. They had Tennessee on the ropes at home. They were 2-0 in conference before that. So you got teams like that aren't traditional powers that are really competing with teams. So Tanner, talk to us about just everything in general, but your Purdue Boilermakers.
Yeah, big game tonight. This is like, for people in Indiana growing up, or if you've ever lived there, you know how big this is. Playing at IU for Purdue. This is the one game that you kind of circle, because the game at Mackey against IU you expect to win, but the game at IU at Assembly Hall,
Didn't win it last year.
We didn't win it last year.
Gotta stop expecting things out of the Boilermakers.
But like, this is the one that you circle. Like, I want to go in there and beat them as a fan, and I hope they do it tonight. I think they really should. I mean, it's going to be a tough environment. I know that, but IU is so down this year compared to recent years.
They're not great.
So I do expect Purdue to go in there and win. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I do expect them to pull it out. And then looking ahead after that, Purdue's got a lot of, I don't want to say easy games, but not very tough opponents for a while. So I feel like it's one of those games, if you can win tonight, you can just kind of get on a nice win streak. And, we got a big one at Wisconsin in early February coming up. That's probably going to decide the Big Ten. So be nice to win tonight and kind of beat up on some of these teams that aren't as good and go to that Wisconsin game on a nice win streak. So.
Yeah.
And kind of just a complete conference overview. We're talking about kind of how weak the Pac-12 was, and Arizona's kind of the one team that stood out. Arizona, ever since lost to Purdue, is really struggling. And the Big Ten, it's got a few teams there at the top: Purdue, Wisconsin, even Iowa has looked good recently. I know they're not the best bunch of world beaters, but they looked pretty good recently. I mean, the SEC, by the way, very deep. The SEC and Big 12, ACC, but the SEC is really deep. They have 4 or 5 teams that can really kind of win that conference.
I think you're forgetting about my personal favorite conference.
Give me the Big
The
East.
Big East.
No.
Oh.
We forgot about them too.
Yeah.
The Mountain West might be a 6-bit.
They're not going to win. They're not.
I mean, they've got at least 5 tournament teams.
But they don't have a team that won a natty, so
We'll see. San
I don't
Diego
know.
was in the natty last
That
year.
San Diego
That
State
is
made
true.
a natty.
That is
Utah
true.
State
The-
looks
The Big
really
East
good.
is unreal.
Well, the Big East, I mean, Marquette just lost to Butler before they got a big win
They're
against
just
Villanova.
beating up.
Yeah, they
Seton
are.
Hall.
Seton Hall. Yeah, Seton Hall should be winning.
Like all
Ranked,
these
but
teams are beating each other.
Again,
It's like
ACC is kind of how it's been for the past decade, kind of Duke and UNC at the top.
Yep.
Besides that, not very deep. Clemson was kind of like that third team, but they've been not good. They've lost a few in a row. Not a few in a row, but a few in the last few games.
I think Syracuse is very talented in the ACC.
They just got blown up by 40.
But they just can't put it together.
Yeah, can't do it. But briefly, some NBA. Draymond came back from his suspension, and the Warriors still lost to the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies have everyone and their mother out due to injury.
So bad.
They had Gigi Jackson, who's from South Carolina, the youngest player in the league, kind of beat up on the Warriors. I mean, it's just kind of fall from grace for the Warriors. Right now, they're not even. They're barely in the play-in, if they are. By the time this is recorded, they're not even in the play-in
Them and the Lakers
anymore.
are out.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Lakers picked up a big win last night against the Thunder. But, yeah, I mean, the NBA is a long season. We'll have plenty of time to talk about them. We'll have a guest come on in a few weeks to kind of break down the NBA more into depth. But with all that being said, we kind of have a new segment here that Tanner brought for us. So, Tanner, go ahead and explain it.
So this is a grid. Mayo will put the grid up on the screen. And for you guys, this week, there's 20 answers. It is the top 20 running backs in the NFL that started their career after the year 2000 in terms of yards per carry for their career. So I have some A's there. That means they're currently active, and that is their active team. And then the ones that don't have an A next to it, they're retired, and that's the team they had their best career season with.
Okay.
So you guys each have 5 strikes. You're competing against me. You can't help each other out, but you cannot. But you two have to
I thought we were a team.
You can't be like, oh, I think it's this guy.
All right.
But you guys are trying to get
I
all
have one
20.
question. Can a player be on 2 different teams?
Like, could they have played for 2 different
Yeah.
teams? Yeah, but I put the team that they're most known for if they're retired.
Yeah. How about if they're active?
If they're active, that has an A next to their name.
Yeah, but I kind of.
Are they active on the same team?
That's the team they're currently active for.
Alright.
So
James, you can go first.
Okay, Derek.
Got the whole board.
Derrick Henry for the.
For the Tennessee Titans.
All right.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Let's go. Oh,
I'm basically just gonna put.
that's about all.
For
I got.
the Indianapolis Colts, I'll go with Jonathan Taylor.
That's correct.
Okay.
Some of these are gonna be gritty. Why am I K and he's J?
I'm putting random stuff down so we know it's.
We'll go San Fran, Christian McCaffrey.
That's correct. You guys are ripping through this.
For
About to
the
stop for me.
for the Browns, I'll go Nick Chubb.
Yes, that's correct.
That's a good take. I like that one. I was gonna say it, but I saw CMC. I think I had to stick with it. Maybe it's a strike, but I'm gonna go Packers. Aaron Jones.
Got it.
That's a good one.
Didn't think.
Is this the whole board?
Yeah, this is the whole
for the Vikings, I'll go Adrian Peterson.
right here. Correct.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Good pull.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Cowboys, bottom right, for Ezekiel Elliott.
It's not Ezekiel Elliott.
Because he's active
He's
for
active.
the. Okay.
I'll go that one for DeMarco Murray.
That is correct. DeMarco Murray.
He was a stud that one year.
Yeah.
Led the league in rushing.
He's a beast.
Did he not? I'm just curious. Did Zeke? Oh, are you saying that it could be here? Okay.
No.
Does he? So okay.
The active is their
He is-
current team.
He's currently
on
on the
it.
Cowboys. Okay.
He's current. Yeah, that guy is currently on the Cowboys.
All right. Lord, man, this is just.
I got a few in the bank.
Yeah. Seattle Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch.
Is not Marshawn Lynch.
That's not a bad guess.
Bro, I'm running out of
for
names.
the
I just started watching football like 5 years ago. Okay.
the Ravens is currently active. I'm gonna save that one. For the Chiefs, I'm gonna go Jamal Charles.
That is correct. He is first all time in yards per carry.
I don't doubt that he was
5.4
a
yards.
freaking he could run.
Back to James.
I might just have to pass him. Cause like I'm thinking of like this Cowboys
Think-
one's
think-
really trippy.
think simple. Some of them are just recently retired, prominent names. We got a timer.
I'll give him like 20 more seconds.
That's a lot of seconds.
It is a lot. You know, I'll take 10. That's fine.
All right.
Hey,
Don't count me down because that puts more pressure. I'm looking at this Cowboys one because it's like pissing me off.
Tanner needs an answer.
All right. I need an answer.
No answer.
No answer. That's a
for-
third strike.
That's fine.
For the Steelers,
Strike me
I'll go Le'Veon Bell.
Is not
Yeah,
Le'Veon
that
Bell.
That was a good. That was a good guess. Good guess.
That's a good guess,
Good
but
Good guess. I don't know.
So he's active for that current team.
yes.
Okay.
Which one did you just guess?
I guess that's Steelers one.
I mean, bro, like, there's somebody on the Cowboys bench, has to be, that's just like,
I think you're really overthinking the Cowboys one.
is it Tony Pollard?
It is Tony
Yeah.
Pollard.
Okay. But, like, that doesn't make sense for me. I
Yeah.
guess, yeah.
For the Ravens, here's a gritty one. Lamar Jackson.
No.
I forgot to preface.
Yeah, because it's got.
This
I knew he
is
was gonna say it's only
running backs only.
Oh, okay.
Lamar Jackson would have been number one.
Oh,
on
you
this
did-
list.
strike,
do-
no
do- yeah, I get
So
it.
no
I get it,
strike.
okay.
You're safe. You're safe.
Let's see. I had a few more in mind. For the Panthers, I'll go Chuba Hubbard.
It's not Chuba Hubbard.
Really active, not Chuba Hubbard. Do I have two strikes?
Who's another running back for the Panthers?
Oh, I know who it is. Is it really? No way.
Bro, like, who was the running back for the Broncos when they were doing their thing? By the way, a name that's not on here that I'm kind of is Saquon Barkley, but that's, I guess, whatever. But that's just my personal take. The Texans active. Bro, I was gonna guess like Adrian Peterson, but I don't think he's.
that one.
I don't know if he's in the league anymore. I'll say Adrian Peterson because I feel like he was on the Texans.
But he's not active.
He's already gone for the Vikings.
He's
Johnny already got him.
And is he retired too?
He's retired.
active.
Hey, I didn't say it was a good guess.
For that top right, if he's the only other active Panthers running back, is Miles Sanders.
It is Miles
Yeah.
Sanders.
I think I have 4 strikes, so I can't wait to be out.
Miles Sanders got all those yards running behind the Eagles' offensive line.
Yeah. Okay. That makes more sense.
All right, Ravens active. Gus Edwards.
It's not Gus
It's
Edwards.
a good guess, though. It's a good guess.
Oh no, guys, I'm out. This is really disappointing.
For the Saints one, I'll go Mark Ingram.
It is not Mark
Are you
Ingram.
kidding
Gosh,
me?
that's
Mark
weird.
Ingram actually was tied at 4.5 yards, but I put DeMarco Murray in because I
Yeah.
feel like he was
No,
better now.
that's a better one.
How many strikes you got? I think you have one left.
I think he's got 2 left.
Or two,
Two
three or
strikes.
four. Someone
One.
knows. Man, I was really kind of confident in that being Mark Ingram.
I'm upset the Seahawks
That
have Marshawn
Tennessee
Lynch.
one, CJ 2K, Chris Johnson.
We already We already, that
got
was
it.
Derrick Henry.
I
That was
got
the first
Oh,
one.
I was looking down here. My bad, that's on me.
That was the first one I got.
Jeez, my bad. Struggling now.
The Ravens active's pissing me off.
No, because they have so many running backs.
They
on
do.
there. That
I will
just
say
kinda
it
rotate.
cannot be rookies. There are no rookies on this list.
Let's see.
The Texans
active.
Also pissing me off.
Yeah, I mean they have kind of two guys that could be it. See, I don't want to guess because this one's really 50-50 for the Texans. It's either Devin Singletary or the dude that went to Florida, and I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now.
Damian Pierce.
It is Damian Pierce. Yeah, I'll rip Damian Pierce.
It's not Damian Pierce.
It's Devin Singletary.
It's Devin Singletary.
All right, now
So you got one strike left.
Okay, he's getting 6, but that's fine.
What's even left?
Bro, go Ravens.
Bro, I don't.
Is it like a gritty JK?
Okay. God, we're at a struggle point here. The Seahawks one not being Marshawn is tough.
That's what I thought.
Because you think way back, because this is from 2000, right?
They had to start their career after the year 2000.
After the year 2000. Okay, so the Broncos one. See, like, I think like Melvin Gordon was on the Broncos for a little bit. They had his name was Chris Anderson. He would literally were number 28 the year they won the Super Bowl. But he wasn't like that prominent of a runner. And then you got the two Eagles ones that are just really making me mad because the Eagles kind of LaShawn McCoy.
LaShawn McCoy is correct.
Yeah.
He is the one that has 4.5 yards per carry.
So there's a better one.
There is
Yeah,
a better one.
interesting. I feel like James, you can hop back in here if you want.
No.
Let's just try to clear the board.
Oh,
What
yeah. Ravens, JK.
It is not J.K. Dobbins.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, let me cook for the Ravens.
do
Look at that.
Melvin Gordon.
It is not Melvin Gordon.
that's a good guess.
I will say it's a guy they just signed within the last 2 weeks.
They just signed. I'm a casual.
And he's been on a team all year.
Oh my god.
That's all I'm gonna give you.
Oh, my guy who went to Florida State. Last name Cook.
Dalvin.
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook
Yeah.
is the Ravens.
Didn't even know the Ravens signed him.
Yeah.
Because I knew he got dropped, but all right.
Dalvin Cook. There you go. Good hint, Tanner. All right, can we get hints for the?
Can I get a hint on
Yeah.
I want a hint on the Broncos one.
On the Broncos one, he won the Super Bowl.
Oh,
with
so,
Peyton
so,
Manning.
so it is that running back, and I don't know his name.
You got his last
Yeah,
name
his last
correct.
name's Anderson. I don't know his
You
first
did not get his first name correct.
name. Yeah, it's not. His last name's Anderson. That should count for
Seahawks,
something, though.
was he on the Super Bowl team?
Seahawks just recently retired. Did not have a long career.
Just recently retired. That doesn't help me. Is this Steelers one from like mid 2000s?
Yeah.
Is it Jerome Bettis?
It's not Bettis.
Technically, we're both out. So Tanner
I can
wins.
just give you.
Yeah, give us some.
Enlighten us, because I'm.
All right, I feel like we can go get some more. If we get some hints.
Yeah, give me a hint on the Ravens. 4.7.
He also won a Super Bowl with the Ravens and Joe Flacco.
Ray Rice.
It's not Ray
No.
Rice.
Because Ray Rice started his career
Doesn't matter.
before 2000, didn't he?
Okay.
Ray Rice was on the Super Bowl team, but this guy had better yards per carry.
Yeah, it's beyond me.
Whatever. Just either start
yeah,
enlightening
all
us
right, so
or give us crazy hints.
This guy is Justin Forsett.
Okay,
Wow.
how was it?
Never gonna guess that.
Yeah.
The Steelers guy is D'Angelo Williams.
Okay, that's valid. Yeah.
The Seahawks, I feel like you're not going to get him, but you're going to be pissed you don't know
Yeah.
it. Chris Carson.
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
I had him on my fantasy team
Okay,
forever.
okay.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
This one, I don't think you guys would ever get this.
Tiki
Giants. Ahmad Bradshaw.
Oh, he was awesome. Wasn't he like the 6'7" running back?
Yeah.
Didn't know who he was.
Yeah, he was.
No, he was like 5'7".
Oh, who?
6'7".
6'7" would have been
Brandon Jacobs.
Brandon Jacobs. He never would have gotten the Saints. That's Pierre Thomas.
Okay.
This one is Brian Westbrook for the Eagles.
Yeah, he was really good.
And the final one is C.J. Anderson.
CJ Anderson,
yeah.
not Chris Anderson.
All right.
So,
That should count as half
Better.
more for me.
Better.
Anyway,
So-
that was fun. Good grid, T-Stir.
yes, thank you.
We're definitely not any world beaters on this stuff. But
I was debating since 2000 or 2010.
It
I
should have
think
been 2010.
for
2010
me
would've been too
personally, 2010, just because like, granted we're all young, but
Yeah.
like I didn't start watching like actually diving into football until like
Yeah,
I was in high school.
But that was a fun grid. As we get into more of the
No,
offseason,
I enjoyed that better than trivia.
As we get more in the off season, we'll kind of do some more of that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of all we got for today. Next episode, kind of previewing the big divisional games coming up. We'll recap some of the March Madness, college basketball. NBA is really starting to get picked up. The All-Star break is coming up, but I mean, yeah, kind of still in kind of the sweet spot of sports before the NFL ends. Fortunately, college football's over, which is really sad. But
So sad.
Yeah. But I guess shout out to Michigan. But if you guys made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
Go Hoosiers.
Peace.
Go Hoosiers.
Whoa.